All right, for question number 5. A square patio has an area of 225 square feet. Write the area as a power, then find the side lengths of the patio. So there are actually two answers to this. The first thing I need to understand is that this patio is a square and it has an area of 225 feet. So I've already drawn out a square, and inside the area here, this is 225 feet. Now again, if something is a square, that means all sides are the same. So to find the area equals base times height. And for a square, okay, you can also think of area of a square as side square, because whatever one side is, it's all the same. Okay, so with that in mind, I can't think of what this might be just off the top of my head. But what I can do is I can do some guess and check. So if I guess and check, I can just start plugging in some numbers here in the side and multiply it and see if I can get close to 225 or get to 225. Okay, that's just one strategy. So I'm going to start off with 10. So I'm going to say that that's 10. So if I do 10 square, that equals 10. That's the same thing as 10 times 10, which equals 100. Okay, well that's not enough because I need to get to 225. So I'm going to do 200. I'm going to do 20 square, which equals 20 times 20, and that equals 2 times 2 is 4, and the zeros, that's 400. So 20 times, if I know 2 times 2 is 4, I know 20 times 20 is 400. That's too much. So that's not going to work. Okay, so it's in between there. So I'm going to try somewhere in between. I'll try 15. Start there. 15 to the second power. 15 squared is 15 times 15. Now I don't know that one as well in my head, so I'm going to work it out over here. 5 times 5 is 25. Carry the 2. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7, so that's 75. Placeholder down. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 1 is 1. I'm going to add this up. 5. 7 plus 5 is 12. Carry. Oh, look at that. 225. And so what I found out is 15 times 15 gets me 225. So now I have my answer. I now need to write it two ways. Write the area as a power. So if I remember from my first problem, powers are as exponents. So first one as a power, the power equals 15 to the second power, and then find the side length. The side length of this would equal 15 as well, because that's how much one side is. And in this case, it's going to be feet. And that's how you solve this. You can find some additional problems on page 6 of your student guide journal. Problem 14, there's A through B. There's different parts there. Problem 6. A square vegetable garden has side lengths of 14 feet. You plant flowers in the center portion of the garden, a square that has side lengths of 8 feet. You divide the remaining space into 4 equal sections and plant tomatoes, onions, zucchini, and peppers. What is the area of the tomato? So the first thing I need to know is that I'm going to make a square garden, vegetable garden. So that's what I've done already here. It has a side length of 14. Okay. So I know one side is 14, and if it's a square, I know that the area of this, if I wanted to find the area of this whole thing, would be 14 square. Okay, or 14 second power. You plant flowers in the center portion of the garden. So in the middle here, there is a flower garden, and it has a side length of 8. Okay, so I know that if that's a square and that has a side length of 8, that's also can be represented as 8 to the second power, or 8 square. You divide the remaining space into 4 equal sections and plant tomatoes, onions, zucchinis, and peppers. Okay, so I can split up the remaining part into 4 equal sections. So we want to know the area of the tomato section. So if this is flowers, say this is tomatoes, this is onions, zucchini, and peppers right here. Okay, we want to know what this section is right here. Okay, what we need to do is we need to figure out what we already know. We know we can figure out the total size of the garden, and we know what the center of it is. And so we need to see what's left. So first step we're going to do is we're going to subtract what we have as the full garden, 14 square minus 8 square. Okay, so that's the first step, is figuring out what is left, because what is left is everything else. Then we want to figure out the size of the tomato. Well, if they're all the same, that means we can divide by 4. So this is how we build out our expression. So this is our expression to solve this problem. So now we just have to go through the order of operations. Inside parentheses, we do 14 times 14 because that's square. So we do 14 times 14. Work that out over here. That's 196. So 14 to the second power is 196. Minus, and I know 8 to the second power is 8 times 8, that's 64. So I have 196 minus 64 divided by 4. Then I'm going to go 196 minus 64 and get 132. And I have to bring the 4 down. And so my last step is to divide. 132 divided by 4. 4 goes into 13 3 times. That's 12. Subtract. We get 1 left over. Bring the 2 down. 4 goes in 12 3 times again. It's 12, and we have nothing left over. So the area of the tomato section is 33. In this case, we're talking feet, and it's area, so square feet. And that is how we work out this problem. If you would like some extra practice, you can go to page 10 of your student journal. Problems 4, and then also 7 through 9 will give you story problems that you have to think through as far as using order of operations and building expressions. All right, this is one more situation where you're trying to find a power. In this case, maybe think of it as a perfect square, but this time between 140 and that is greater than 140 and less than 145. So when I think of this, I'm going to try to do perfect squares. So like again, 5 to the second power, which equals 5 times 5, which equals 25. And so that's not close to 140. So I need to jump up further than that. So when I do guess and check, I'm just going to start picking some numbers and try to narrow it down. So I'll go to 15 square. Okay, so 15 square is going to be 15 times 15. I've done that a few times. So I remember that 15 times 15 is 225. And so that's a little too much. And so I'm going to now need to back that down. And so I'll try 10 to the square, and that's 10 times 10. And that equals 100. So, okay, so 100 is not enough, 225 is too much, so it's somewhere in between there. So let's try 12. So I'm going to do 12 to the second power, which is 12 times 12. And that is, do it over here just to make sure, 4 and 2. 1 times 2 is 2, and 1 times 1 is 1. Add that together, 4, 4, 1, so 144. 144 is greater than 140, and it's less than 145, so that's it. So I have to write a power. So I use 12 times 12, so this is it. So my final answer is 12 to the second power. Do you want more practice on problems like this? Student Journal, page 6, problems 10 through 12.